What's going on? Hope you're doing good. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how Brez Scales was able to make over $250,000 in roughly an hour. Obviously, Brez has 1 million followers and he had around 20,000 people show up to his actual event to make this happen. But you don't need 1 million followers. You don't need 20,000 people to show up. All you really need is to have a good niche, a good offer, and have the proper promotion for your event. Now, obviously, some of you guys have no clue what I'm even talking about here, so I'm going to get into the video. Now, before I go ahead and get into breaking down how he actually made this much money, I want to preface something, right? I want to preface the credibility behind it, the proof behind it, and like basically break down the numbers a little bit. So he had a $997 offer, which he sold on this event, and 28,000 people showed up on day 3 episode, which is basically like the 3rd day of the event. He was doing a 3-day live challenge, just for some context. And 250 of these people purchasing would only be under a 1% conversion rate, a 0.89% conversion rate, which is a really, really bad conversion rate. So total, just from public roughly indicators, like public indicators, he made roughly 250K just from public indicators, and considering that would be literally less than a 1% conversion rate. We're going to be breaking down the traffic and then the actual funnel and then the back-end marketing, the webinar itself, and then how he made sales on the back end. The way that he did this, by the way, was through a webinar funnel. A webinar funnel is basically a live webinar, a live event, but he didn't do like a live event. He did a pre-recorded, kind of like an evergreen webinar type of thing, except it was a 3-day event, like a 3-day challenge. So it all kind of falls into the same category, but the way we're going to be breaking down this video is simple. So getting right into it, there's 3 parts to, I guess, like the whole system of the webinar. There's the promotion period, collecting cash on the front end, and collecting cash on the back end. So we start off with the promotion period. In this case, his promotion period was 16 days. I made a typo right here. It should have been 16 days. But he started on the September 1st and it went all the way up to, not even 16 days, 15 days. It went all the way up to September 15th. So from September 1st to 15th, he had his promotion period. So the way it worked is we go first to traffic. On September 1st, he went ahead and he publicly announced the funnel, or he made the public announcement. On his Instagram, he did it through a story sequence. As you guys can see, I have the story sequence here exactly. He actually dropped a trailer on YouTube to announce this whole thing. But on his story, he had a story sequence, as you guys can see here. And then on Instagram, he had just his regular reels that he was posting, the ones that he's been posting up until now, to basically gather as much traffic as possible. That's kind of the goal he was going for here. And then on YouTube, he had 2 different things running. He had his YouTube video trailer, which is when he actually used to announce the webinar. As you guys can see, welcome to the Only Decision, September 15th and 17th, a free 3-day live cinematic film. If you haven't claimed your free ticket, do that before we close public access, and then the link to the landing page is here, which we're going to break down next. And another thing he did on YouTube as well was he also ran YouTube ads. I saw a bunch of YouTube ads that were coming up. I'm not sure if he started running YouTube ads on September 1st as well, because I saw them later on, closer to September 15th when I was actually on YouTube. But at the same time, I don't really use YouTube that much to actually watch videos, so I'm not even sure. Maybe they were there from the beginning. But either way, he had YouTube ads, he had a YouTube video trailer, and he announced it through story sequence. He also had Instagram reels. So for the traffic part of things, it's pretty simple. It's kind of like what he was already doing up until now, except instead of redirecting traffic to book a call or to his type form, he just went ahead and told everybody to go ahead and grab a free ticket for this limited time event, and the spots are going soon. So August 20th is actually when they did the paid ads promo. So they started the paid ads a little bit before they announced the webinar publicly. As you guys can see here, he had over 170 ad creators running. I took a screenshot of some of them. Obviously, it's way too many to break down, but he had over 170 ad creators running with different hooks, different angles, different creative tests, all that type of stuff to go ahead and get as many people to the webinar as possible. Now, one thing he was heavily emphasizing in these ads and just in general was the urgency and exclusivity part of it. The way that these webinars are able to work so well, and the way you're able to go ahead and make so much money in such a little amount of time just by implementing this one system, is because you use urgency and exclusivity to actually market it. Because if it was just like everything else, you're going to get the same exact output and the same exact result as everything else. What you have to do is you have to go ahead and tell people that this is a limited time event. Spots are going soon. There's only 100 spots available. There's never going to be anything like this before. Even though that might not be true, it's just marketing and it's how it works. It's how you have to appeal to the masses. That's exactly what he did here. He went ahead and he repeatedly talked about how there's only 100 spots. Spots are going soon. It's a one-time thing only. He's never doing anything like this again. But the reality is he literally did a webinar. Like, it was a while ago, but he did a webinar before. So that's the main key factor here when it comes to your messaging and your content that you actually have to implement to go ahead and make sure you can get as many people into the webinar and to sign in, to opt in as possible. Because if people understand that this is going to be happening every single week, or it's going to be happening every month, they're not really going to want to sign in. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I'll just go to the next one, or oh, this is going to happen sometime later. But when you really make people feel like this is the only time it's ever happening, you're going to get a lot of opt-ins. So always keep that in mind when it comes to your messaging and the content. So that's pretty much it for the traffic. He literally just had what he was regularly doing, ran some ads, ran some YouTube ads, and just funneled everybody into the actual landing page. Now, next up we have here is the funnel. So there's two parts of the funnel. There's the opt-in page and the thank you page. This is how it usually goes for every single webinar, unless you have some cross-sells in between. In my last video, I broke down Serge Katari's webinar where he had a VIP ticket, which was $97 once you actually buy the $27 ticket. Brez didn't do anything like that. His was pretty simple. So he had an opt-in page, which had, your standard VSL, headline, about section, all that stuff. By the way, I broke down these landing pages in a lot of depth, and I'm not going to go over this in this video, but if you guys do want the full landing page, and I also have some other stuff as well, like all the email scripts, the full landing page breakdown that Brez used for his promotion in this webinar, just go on IG, DM me the word Brez, and I'll literally give it to you for free. So yeah, either way, he had a simple landing page. He had his headline, subheadline, VSL, opt-in, about section. Now for the opt-in here, he had his type form. So the type form had 5 questions. There was the name, financial situation, income goal, email, and phone number. These are the kind of questions that he used to gather data from people that were opting into his webinar. Once you go ahead and you submit the type form, it would redirect you to the thank you page. So on the thank you page, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There was same idea again. There was the headline, subheadline, VSL, and then some CTAs. So there's a couple CTAs here. The first one was to join the WhatsApp group. This is how every single live event or live webinar or 3-day challenge, this is how they all work. They all get you to join a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group, some type of group like that on the back end where they can kind of have access to beyond the algorithm and beyond restrictions. So in this case, it was a WhatsApp group, as you guys can see here. And then second thing was he had a CTA button to redirect people to the email inbox. So instead of going ahead and telling people, hey, just go ahead and check your email, he actually went and he added buttons right there for the 3 most common email types, which was, I believe this is Gmail, obviously, and then this is Outlook, and I think this is the Apple Mail. And that redirects you directly to your inbox. So making it super low friction, super simple for people to actually go to their email and see exactly what is it that they went ahead and they got the email. So that's the second CTA here. The third CTA is to add each episode to your calendar. Obviously, all 3 of these episodes, they were YouTube videos, but he still made you add them to the calendar. Once you clicked on each single one, it would literally take you to your calendar, and all you have to do is just click add event. So again, super simple, super frictionless. He literally had buttons for everything. The fourth thing was reviewing the details. Now, this is something I don't usually see people do, and it's very smart because a lot of people tend to make typos when it comes to entering their information. But in Brez's case, what he did was he literally showed you the name, email, phone number that you entered to make sure you had the right information there and to review, that you didn't make any typos or any mistakes. And then one other thing that these guys did, which was also really smart, was they added a bonus CTA, which was add his Snapchat so you can see some of his behind the scenes of his life. Now, this was very smart because I'm actually just going to explain it here. Brez's ideal audience is super active on Snapchat. Like his ideal audience is, people who are between the ages of like 17 to 21, like high school students, university students, some were even younger than that, but that's not who they ideally were going for. And they know that these people, they use Snapchat a lot. It's a Gen Z app, you know what I mean? I use Snapchat. Everybody uses Snapchat who's around that age right now. So they added this as a bonus for people to go ahead and add a Snapchat to see a behind the scenes of his life as another form of nurturing. A lot of people wouldn't really think of this because they would think like, oh, Snapchat, whatever. Like it's just for me, for texting my friends. But in his case, what they did was they had people add him on Snapchat just so they could get a behind the scenes look on his life, away from Instagram, away from YouTube, away from the pre-recorded scripted content, just literally raw of his life every single day. So they could feel more connected to him, feel more nurtured, etc. It's a very smart nurturing mechanism. Anyways, those were the CTAs on his thank you page, and that's what his thank you page looked like. Like I said already, if you guys want this, just go ahead, DM me on Instagram. I'll give you the whole thing for free. I have a full breakdown, all of this, everything, so you guys can read through everything. But I didn't want to make this video super, super long, so I didn't go over all this right now. Now, that's the traffic and that's the funnel. Next up, and probably the most important part here, is the back-end marketing. So as you guys can see, there's quite a bit to go over here. So we'll get into it. Back-end marketing, there's 3 parts. He had the WhatsApp group, he had emails, and he had text messages. On text messages, I'll get into that first because he didn't lean too heavily into text messages. The very first message you would get is when you go ahead and you actually opt in. You get a message saying something like, yo, name, it's Brez. I got your C-locked for my 3-day event. Click this to save the event to your calendar. That's it. And then he didn't have any text messages from September 1st all the way to September 14th, which was when they started. And it's probably smart to do so because there's not really any point of sending text messages. Text messages are a more urgent way to reach someone. So you would only want to reuse them when it's actually important reminders. So as you guys can see here, 24 hours before the first episode, he had a reminder. 4 hours before the first episode, 60 minutes before the first episode, he had another reminder 60 minutes before the first episode. And then when the first episode went live, day one, he had a reminder for that. And then day two, he had another one for 2 hours before day two started. And then on day two, when day two went live, the episode two, he also had a reminder for that. Day three, 1 hour before, and then also one when day three went live. And then for day three, he actually sent a second reminder telling people that he's live again, just to make sure that they can show up, because the third day was the most important one. That's where he actually pitched you, right? So he wanted to make sure that a lot of people were there as possible. And he actually had, this is not a day three live reminder. This is actually more so of a, like a Scale 2.0 spot. Like basically Scale 2.0 is the thing that he pitched in the webinar. Once he pitched it publicly, he went ahead and he sent a text message with the direct checkout link to everybody's phone that was on the SMS list, which is also crazy. So that's all he did for text messages, surprisingly. He didn't implement much more. Where more was implemented was definitely emails and WhatsApp group. Even WhatsApp group wasn't that crazy, but emails, as you guys can see, it's insane. There was like an email, so many emails. So the very first email that you would get is the welcome email when you first go ahead and actually opt in. So in my case, I opted in on September 1st, right? And I got this email on September 1st. It's like, name, here's a golden ticket. Name is Brez, listen up, yada, 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 whatever. I'm not going to go over all these emails in depth or too much really. I just want to show you guys what it actually takes in terms of the campaign to go into this type of marketing for this type of event. Like I said already, if you guys want every single email script plus the landing pages with a full overview breakdown, go ahead and just DM me the word Brez on Instagram and I'll send you a doc that has all that stuff for free. But yeah, as you guys can see in the welcome email, there was 2 CTAs. There was one CTA to add the event to the calendar, and there was 2 more CTAs to go ahead and land in your inbox, because they already know that once they first deliver the email, it's going to go to your promotions and they want it to go to your inbox. So the first one is make sure to start this email so you don't miss it. This is to make it an important email so that your inbox knows to send it to your primary. And then the second one is PS, each nugget I drop over the next few days is going to be a key lesson that's worth over 6 figures each. So make sure you have notifications on. Obviously, this is not a CTA to go ahead and land on your inbox. So CTA to land in your inbox actually is this one right here. He got people to say, he was like, by the way, reply to this email, let me know what you want to achieve during my event. I read every single one. He said that to make people actually respond, because when someone responds to an email, it goes to the primary. When someone starts an email, it goes to their primary. But the notifications was just to make sure that people actually open the email and they read it. So yeah, a lot of like cheeky CTAs here that people kind of missed, or they probably went over people's heads, but very smart for him to do. From then on, there was literally just daily campaign emails. So as you can see, September 3rd, daily campaign, I believe this is September 4th actually. September 3rd, September 4th. Oh no, he had 2 on September 3rd. September 4th, September 5th, September 6th, 10, 13. So 13 is when the reminder started actually. This is when the daily campaign stopped and the reminder started. So 48 hours before, 28 hours, 24 hours before, 4 hours before, 1 hour before, episode 1 live, 15 minutes in, episode 1 replay, 2 hours before episode 2. Episode 2 live, episode 2 replay. You guys get the idea. Obviously, I'm not going to go over everything in depth here. But he had email marketing, which was like the backbone of this entire thing. And it's always the backbone of every single webinar event. It's usually like the most important part. Next up, he had the WhatsApp group. So WhatsApp group, once you go ahead and you click this green button here, right here, it will take you to this page that says join the WhatsApp group. So I joined the group. Very first thing in the WhatsApp group is the welcome message, September 1st. So there was a little VSL here, a little thank you video, I guess you can say. And inside of the description, 3 CTAs. There was all the links to add the event to the calendar. That's all there was for the welcome message. And then it was just daily campaign posts. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Daily campaign post, link to the trailer. He had like some random videos in here. And they were also doing actually a cash giveaway. He did a $5,000 giveaway, which I'm pretty sure he still hasn't announced the winner for. I might be wrong. But he did a $5,000 giveaway to someone who comments scale on all 3 of the episodes or of the videos. And bro, the comments were going absolutely crazy. There was people commenting on every single video. Like all you would see in the chat is scale. Like people cared more about the $5,000 than actually being there and the value they were going to receive from being there. So that's another good way to get people to actually show up on your event. If you have money to spend like that, a $5,000 giveaway and get people to comment. There was so much engagement. It was insane. And then there's a link to the actual thing. September 15, there was a CTA 4 hours before. September 15, when episode 1 went live, there was another post, and then there was a second reminder when episode 1 was live. Episode 1 finished, there was another one. There was another one before, 1 hour before episode 2. Episode 2 going live, episode 2 being finished. Another reminder 4 hours before episode 3. There's a lot more for episode 3 and the ones after episode 3 because it was the most important one, obviously, right? So yeah, a lot more reminders here, as you guys can see. For episode 3, actually, there was 2 live reminders, and there was a Q&A after episode 3, which is I'm going to break down afterwards. There's a Q&A that there's another reminder for. And then he actually dropped the checkout link for the $997 offer inside of the WhatsApp group. He sent another reminder, third reminder for people to watch episode 3. And then there was the first CTA for the checkout, second CTA for the checkout, third CTA for the checkout. And there's actually, I think, 2 more messages since then that I haven't included in this video, but he's still CTAing the checkout. So that's the back-end marketing. That's what went down actually after people opted in up until the day of the event. It's simple, but it's effective. Like, there's nothing insanely crazy going on. It's literally just simple nurture posts, value, case studies, etc., etc. So there's not too much crazy things going on here. It's just more so touch points. I'm sure you guys have heard of the 7-11-4 rule. It's people watching 7 hours of your content, having 11 touch points on 4 different platforms before they buy. Now, that kind of applies here. He wanted to make sure there was as much touch points as possible before you get on that event. That way you can actually buy on the event on day 3. So that's the back-end marketing. We went over the funnel, went over the traffic. Next up is the webinar itself. Now, as I mentioned previously, he didn't do this in a traditional way where it was a live event webinar. It was literally just YouTube videos that premiered, believe it or not. It was live premieres of YouTube videos that made it seem like it was a live event. But there was 3 episodes, right? And the third episode is the actual webinar aspect of it. The first 2 were more just nurture videos. So he kind of used the first 2 as an opportunity to nurture people, build trust with them, kind of build a connection with them. And then on third one is when he pitched them, which was actually another smart thing to do. So episode 1, the theme and purpose of episode 1, as you can see, episode 1 was called Stuck. I forget the title of the video, but it was like POV, you're trying to like do something XYZ. I don't remember what the title was, but episode 1 was Stuck. So the theme and purpose of episode 1 was to establish the backstory and relatability. And it built credibility through showing where he came from, what his life used to look like, the depths that he faced. And it meant to humanize him. And it meant to make the audience feel like that could be me right now. That was the whole point of it, right? Like, he showed clips of him playing Fortnite, staying up late, eating junk food, scrolling in class. Literally all things that people around his ideal customer profile age would be doing, right? Because his ICP is people that are in high school, people that are in middle school, people that are in university. They're all doing the same exact things. They're staying up late, playing video games, staying up late, wasting time, eating junk food, not really knowing what to do, tired of their life, tired of their school, tired of their job, all that stuff. So that was the purpose of episode 1, is to kind of go ahead and show people like, hey, I was just like you a long time ago. Perfect for building trust. After that, we have the content flow. So this is how the video kind of went. First one was hometown and family context. So he opened up in his hometown, showed his family interactions, childhood, bedroom, life growing up. He literally went back to his old house, showed like baby pictures of himself. It was actually an insane way to build trust. The second thing was school and his dropout story. So he talked about dropping out after a month and a half in college, talked about his parents' reactions, how he always knew school wasn't for him, whatever, a lot of building trust there. Talked about some of his early hustles, showed his clothing brand days, dropshipping failures, and how learning ads became his breakthrough. And grind in the basement, talked about packing orders, late nights, failures, frustration, but he kept going. And then reflection. So he went to those same places like the bedroom, the basement, and he frames them as the foundation of his current success. So he kind of took a trip down memory lane with the first episode. And I'm pretty sure in the first episode, he actually went back to the very same spot where he was eating in and out on the back of his Lamborghini. And the guy walked up to him and he said, "Nice rental." If you guys know Brez, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. He went back to that exact spot and he replayed that exact same clip. So he also went back to the same spot where he crashed his Lamborghini. There's a lot of stuff that went down in this video. It was just a lot of like humanity, a lot of trust building and a lot of transparency. So it was really cool to see, honestly. And the takeaway for the audience was basically like he was trying to tell the audience like he had every reason to quit, but he kept going, and it positioned him as a relatable plus resilient, not just a rich kid who got lucky. And it warmed up the audience emotionally before any teaching or pitching. So this is very perfect. Next up, episode 2. So the theme and purpose of episode 2 was centered on risk-taking and turning point decision. It was meant to inspire the audience to think about taking the same leap and making a choice, and it transitions the narrative from the backstory to taking action. So this episode was called Shift. This is where he talked about like the dilemma that he was stuck in that actually caused him to make the shift to decide to just go ahead and change his life and, stop being on the same stuff that he was on. And the content flow was, number 1, he talked about the Arizona apartment, showed the first place he moved in. He moved after dropping out. and sitting alone, grinding in the dark for 12 hours a day, early struggles, not having any friends, no money, scammed by a manufacturer. He painted the reality of starting alone. And then he talked about the penthouse era where he talked about, meeting up with Pierre, Fredo, all those guys, moving into the penthouse, building momentum on YouTube, lifestyle upgrades, etc., etc. Actually, in this video is where he talked about the crash, and he went back to all that stuff. It wasn't the first one. So in this video, he talked about the crash, the money stress, almost wanting to get a job again, but pushing through. And number 5 was motivational lesson. He directly told the audience, he's like, if you're debating quitting your job or dropping out, do it. I'm proof it's possible. So this was the second episode that meant to make people start to form the beliefs in their mind of like, okay, I need to do something about this. I need to make a change. I need to go ahead and do something to get out of my situation, just like this guy did. So that was very cool to see as well. And the takeaway for the audience was like, it's not about luck. It's about making the scary decision and doubling down. It reinforces the identity shift. You have to leave behind the safe path to unlock success. Keeps building belief and authority before the final sales focused webinar. So the first 2 episodes were literally just all about building trust and breaking beliefs and shifting beliefs before he actually pitched people, which is smart. You would do the same exact thing on any other webinar, except he decided to just extend it and make it 2 whole videos. Although they weren't very long videos, as you can see, this actual third episode was an hour and 19 minutes long. The first 2 were just 14 minutes and 11 minutes. They're like very short clips, very short movies, but you would do the same exact thing on any webinar, right? So the main event, which was episode 3, this is how it went. Finale is scale. So he went through the opportunity. This one was like a sit down video. It was kind of like a very long VSL actually. It was structured the exact same way. So he went through the opportunity, which is the very first thing that happens in all of these live events and live webinars. What he did was he opened with relatability, talking about if I could do it, then just prove to you too. He framed the opportunity as escaping being stuck in a lifelong of long nights, eye bags, doubt, frustration, all that type of stuff. And he positioned the decision to scale as the only difference between staying in the same life versus becoming the person you deserve to be. So throughout the entire event or the entire promotion, he kept talking about, I'm going to be showing you guys the only decision that took me to where I am today, the only decision that I had to make, the only decision. So he framed it as like taking this leap of faith and making that one decision that's going to change everything for you. The reason why he did it is because he wanted to hook the audience emotionally by showing the contrast between their current struggle and the life they want. And it built the belief that opportunity is real and it's achievable, right? And the effect that it has on the audience is they feel both the pain of staying stuck and the hope of transformation, and it creates immediate tension. Like, if I don't act, I'm going to stay here forever. So that makes them move with urgency. Next up, he went a little bit into his story again. So what he did was he shared his background, talking about how he's a small kid from Wisconsin, not from LA, Miami, no wealthy parents or big city advantages, only decision that, went ahead and actually changed him. He showed his lowest points, being a degenerate gamer until 3 a.m., failing repeatedly, parents doubting him, and he highlighted the moment of change, of drowning out the noise, listening to his inner voice, etc., etc. The reason why he did it is because it builds credibility, it creates relatability, and the effect that it has on the audience is the audience see themselves in his past. They literally see him in the same shoes that he was in, and it lowers resistance because he didn't start with special advantages. So people are thinking, if he can do it, I can too. So again, a lot of nurturing going on here. Number 3 was case studies. He doesn't have that many case studies, I'm going to be honest with you. The main case study he has is himself, obviously, and that's enough for him, as you guys can see. But what he did was he used himself as the first case study, broke small town kid to millionaire at 20. He anchored the transformation with vivid contrast from gaming until 3 a.m. to cars, penthouse, and freedom, and he positioned his results as a direct outcome of the decision he made. The reason he did it is because personal story is the strongest proof. It shows the audience that the system works in real life, not just in theory. And the effect that it has on the audience, again, is if it works for him with no advantages, it can work for me. But he also included one other case study of this one guy in his program who was like 18 or 20 years old, who went ahead and bought his dream car, which is a Corvette. Classic Miami story. Guy makes an online business, buys a Corvette, all that type of stuff. But yeah, he used that as social proof because it appeals to the suburban audience. So like, oh my God, I want to buy a Corvette, I want to buy a supercar, and I want to go live in Miami, I want to live in Brickell. So yeah, it worked. Next up is value in teaching. So he broke down his 4-pillar framework. Number 1 was mindset mastery, like belief, self-talk, controlling your inner dialogue. Number 2 is having the right vehicle, picking a business model that fits beginners. Number 3, skill set mastery, becoming elite at one service so you're the only choice other than other people. Number 4 is the engine, which is the mentorship/system, skill 2.0 to accelerate results. Why he did it is so that the audience has tangible steps instead of just inspiration, builds authority as a teacher with a proven framework, and the effect that it has on the audience is they see a clear roadmap rather than a vague dream, and they start to believe they can follow the same steps as well. So you guys might be wondering why I'm actually breaking down the webinar so in depth. And the reason why is because I want you guys to understand the psychology behind the webinar. Because what good is it to have the entire system behind the whole webinar and to have the promotion down, all that stuff, if you don't understand what to actually do on the event as well, right? Because the event is actually the most important part of this whole thing. You're doing all this promotion for the event. You're doing all this hype, all these ads, all this stuff for the event. So if you don't know how to do the event, you're kind of doomed. So that's the reason why I want to break down everything in depth. Now, this is actually where he went ahead and brought in more case studies. My bad. So more case studies, he brought up his peers and students, which was Josh, the 18, 19 years old, dropped out, bought a Corvette, making 20, 30K a month. He reinforced that success wasn't limited to him. Other people were using the same framework and also succeeded. And the reason obviously he did this is to remove the objection that maybe it only worked for you, nobody else. And then the effect on the audience is like, these guys did it, I can do it too. So it works. Next up is transitioning into the pitch. So he framed the decision, doing this alone will cost you years. With me, you shortcut the results. He introduced the engine concept as a natural bridge into Scale 2.0. It kind of went hand in hand with it. And why he did it was smooth transition from free teaching to paid offer without feeling abrupt. And it positioned the program as like the missing piece that the people needed to go ahead and actually make this happen and be successful. And the effect that it has on the audience is they feel prepared and primed to hear the offer. Now, for the actual CTA, he went ahead and he presented the $997 offer as the natural next step in the training. And what he did was basically his offer was $997. His promise was to show you how to implement the framework he just taught so you can get consistent results instead of trying to piece it together alone. And the framing was affordable, straightforward, designed so beginners can apply the system. And the reason he did it is to position his program as a logical next step for anyone serious about getting results and changing, and to make the price point feel accessible while still high enough to signal quality, and to show that attendees don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everything's already laid out. It's just a step-by-step program. And the effect on the audience feels like the heavy lifting has been removed. They just need to join. Believes that success will come faster with less trial and error. And it makes $997 feel like a small price compared to the potential ROI, right? That's how he went about this CTA. Now, the next up is FOMO, urgency, and scarcity. So what he did was he warned that trying to figure out everything alone will take months or years, and most people quit before ever making it. He stressed that time is the biggest risk. Every day you delay, you're losing money, staying stuck in the same situation. He positioned his program, Scale 2.0, as the fastest and safest way to get results now while avoid wasting time and failed attempts. And then he created urgency by saying that make opportunities shrink the longer you wait. So he said that your chances of making it happen get smaller and smaller every single day the longer you wait. And the reason he did all this is to shift the risk. Like doing nothing or trying solo becomes a dangerous option, and the more like stupid option to go down. And paying $997 seems like the more viable option, the smarter option. And obviously, it makes the offer feel like the obvious shortcut they need to take now. And the effect that it has on the audience is it makes them feel the urgency to take action immediately, and they get the fear of staying stuck and wasting more time, always, the hesitation about investing. So that's how it goes to kind of go ahead and CTA people and then use FOMO, urgency, and scarcity to back it up and basically make them want to take action. Next up is a Q&A. So usually on a webinar, the Q&A is done at the end of the webinar live. But what he did instead is, because he had 3 YouTube videos, he went ahead and he started a live stream on YouTube to go ahead and answer objections and other questions while screen sharing software. And he reinforced benefits to responses like delivery, scaling, whatever. It keeps viewers engaged until the end. It turns objections into selling points. And the effect that it has on the audience is it resolves hesitations. More viewers feel comfortable taking the leap, and subconsciously even builds trust, because he's actually over here. This is a pretty funny angle, but he's over here, just being himself. He was eating food, talking about how he's sick, whatever. So it just builds more trust. As you guys can see, 12 minutes in, there's 2,000 people watching, a lot less than the actual webinar, but there was a bunch of people who, actually ended up buying the offer in here as well. So you probably made a lot more than what I said. Now, that's how the whole webinar goes. Obviously, I just talked about it. The Q&A stream is the last part. The theme of this is to answer objections and corrections, handle objections, build more trust with people by showing the raw and unfiltered side of things. So I know that took a little bit of time to go over, but this is how the webinar went. And this is collecting cash on the front end, roughly an hour long, 2 hours maybe, because you have to add in the time of the actual 3rd episode plus the time of the Q&A afterwards. So 1 to 2 hours long. That's collecting cash on the front end. Now, the last and final step to this whole system right here is collecting cash on the back end. So collecting cash on the back end was, roughly the next 7 days after. So it's just about ending now. So it's 22nd right now as I'm recording this. And the way that it worked is 3 different ways. Actually, 4 different ways. So first off, for back end sales, there was the WhatsApp setter. So inside of the video, he went ahead and said, if you have any questions, go ahead and message the number that pops up on the screen right now on WhatsApp. So the way that this works is the prospect would message the setter. Obviously, it's going to be the appointment setter on WhatsApp. The setter handles any questions or any objections that people have, and then he CTAs them to the checkout page to either buy or they don't buy. So that's one way of them collecting sales. Next up is the link in the chat CTA in the actual video. And then after that is the Q&A live stream with the link in the chat there. So there was 2 different videos that had the link in the chat. So he went ahead, and he had the opt-in page, right? This is the opt-in page for the checkout. You had the opt-in CTA, whatever, opt-in page, you enter your name, email, phone number, then you get to the checkout page. On the checkout page, it was really simple page. It just had a bunch of FAQs, it had what's included, and then just a checkout box. Now, this was the checkout page they used for the webinar only specifically. Afterwards, they actually ran some retargeting ads. They ran 12 different creators for retargeting ads, and these retargeting ads were all saying like, hey, if you're watching this video right now, that means you showed up to my live 3-day event, which is great to hear, whatever, whatever. Lock in your spot, it's going soon. Just to make more money on people that didn't convert. And if you guys don't know already, retargeting campaigns are usually supposed to be a lot cheaper and a lot smaller than actual ad campaigns, because all you're doing is you're taking the audience that already viewed your stuff and just trying to retarget them once again. So you don't really have to spend that much money on it. That's why he only had 12 creatives instead of 170 like he did before. But these retargeting ads would also go ahead and lead to a checkout page, except this was a different checkout page because it was a bit of a colder audience in a sense, if you guys know what I mean. So it was a bit more informed, there's a bit more detail, there's a VSL on it, all that stuff. So as you guys can see, this is the checkout page for the retargeting ads. If you click learn more, it would take you to this page. Headline, subheadline, VSL, CTA, another CTA. There was like a total of six CTAs on this page, I believe. Yeah, 6 CTAs. There was this section right here that kind of shifted beliefs. There was the about section, another bonus section, another about section, another about section. So there was a lot of informational sections here on this page with CTAs following them. And then there was an FAQ section where basically, you know, if you go ahead and you have any objections, and they kind of would get handled here in the FAQs. So yeah, that's basically the page that they were using. And then also for back-end sales as well, they had, you know, like the WhatsApp group where they were CTAing a couple more times to get people to buy. So there was also collecting money on the back end from there, as well as the retargeting ads is the other thing that just went over. But yeah, that's essentially the entire system of how Brez was actually able to go ahead and make, you know, $249,000 in roughly an hour. Now, if you're an info business owner and you want to go ahead and scale, you know, you're probably doing like 30, 40, 50K a month right now, maybe even 60, and you want to go ahead and scale to 100, 120, 115K, and you want the system fully implemented, done for you, then go ahead, DM me on Instagram. We can have a chat about it. I'm implementing the system fully done for you for other info businesses. So go ahead and just DM me on Instagram. We can talk about it. And if you want every single landing page with the full overview breakdown and every single email script, word for word, copy pasted, so that you can use them in your own webinars and you can take inspiration from them, then just go ahead and DM me Brez on Instagram and I'll send those all over to you once again. And that's all. I hope you guys found value in this video. It genuinely took me a while to make this YouTube video because like 15 days I had to just wait for the actual webinar to happen. And I had to document everything in between. So I really hope you guys appreciate the value and the effort that went into making this video. And if you did find value, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, that's all. See you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.